A very good afternoon and welcome to the Havelock Sports Club grounds as we await the kickoff in the Sir Oliver Gunatilaka Memorial Trophy encounter between Wesley and St. Thomas's, the unbeaten St. Thomas's team. Wesley with a couple of wins, hoping to make it a third today. It's going to be a much closer encounter than a lot of people expect, especially a lot of Thomian fans, I would think, would expect that this Thomian team, who have been unbeaten so far with fantastic comeback wins against Royal and Trinity, will manage to reclaim their unbeaten tag against a Wesley team that have flattered to deceive, to close losses against those very same teams, Royal and Trinity, by 2 points and 3 points respectively, and they will be expecting to go one better against these Thomians, who might be a little complacent coming into this game after being unbeaten so far this season. We'll wait and see how that all pans out. Joining me in the commentary box today, Paul Toya, former player and coach from New Zealand, Australia and France. He's traveled the world, Paul, playing and coaching rugby. And also joining me in the commentary box, Dylan De Silva, former colorsman of St. Thomas's College, played in 2005 in under Namal Rajapaksa in that very good St. Thomas's College team. From 11 years ago it was, seems like a long time away, but good afternoon, gentlemen. Welcome to the commentary box. Paul, it looks like a fantastic day. We might have a few showers later on in the evening. Do you think that the weather and the humidity at the moment is going to affect the way these two teams play?
I'd expect a forward battle to start off with, especially from St. Thomas's. That's where their strengths lie. I was speaking to Coach Lager before the game, and he said that he's going to look out for the wingers for Wesley, and also the number 8. So that's where they're going to keep an eye on the other players. But because it's the sun's not shining and there's a little bit of humidity, and I expect a little bit of rain later on, it'll suit their forward battle.
Yeah, it will suit the forward battle, certainly. RD, you were a forward yourself. This Thomian pack is one that you must be proud of. They've been playing very well. They've got a good front five. And do you imagine that they are going to be the ones to cause trouble for Wesley today?
Definitely, Shanaka. I think the tight five is going to play a major game, and the captain is leading from the front. He's a man on top of things, and he's taking it to the Wesley side today, and he's been answering the critics with his play.
You're smiling at me when you say that, Dylan, and I know exactly why that is. But it's interesting, Paul, that we have two front rowers as captains of their sides today. Diane Sabah leading Wesley from the front row in the position of prop, coming up against Pandula De Silva in the hooker's position. And it's always front row forwards that end up being very successful captains, isn't it? Guys like John Smith, Sean Fitzpatrick.
That's right. It's because they can lead from the front. They lead by example. They don't need to say much. They're at the coalface. I did have a coach that said the most important player in the team was the tight head prop, and the second most important player was the reserve tight head prop. So they're revered, those front rowers. But as I said, they can lead by example. So if you need a leader on the field to stand up and start leading, then he can do it by his actions. He doesn't need to say too much, and sometimes that's what you need.
The line-out and scrum have been functioning very well for St. Thomas's, but looking at Wesley also, it's two areas of the game that they're quite competent in. I know one area of the game that you really loved, Dylan, was the line-out. And looking at Sashika Fernando at number 8 for Wesley, he's the guy who's probably going to be their main line-out man. But St. Thomas's have two very good exponents in Wayne Mack and Harit Serenayaka. Do you think one jumper is enough sometimes to combat two very good jumpers in the other team?
Shanaka, that's one of the issues that I saw in the previous two games when St. Thomas's came out with Royal and Trinity. The set pieces were an issue, and in critical or crucial moments, they could not secure possession and put it out to the threes. So definitely the set pieces and the line-out jumping has to be accurate, and Pandu has to ensure that the throws go in, and they need to secure ball, and it's going to be vital. All set pieces have to be in line with them, and they need to secure ball, and that's going to be a decisive factor for this game.
That's right. I think both coaches know that that's where the whole game starts and finishes. Really, as long as the set piece can function properly, then the outside backs can show their wares, and that's where the whole game will be starting and won and lost.
Well, this Wesley team is a team that looks to run wide very early on in the game. They probably look to spread it wide first phase, put some pressure on the outside defenders of St. Thomas's. St. Thomas's have also shown real good aggression when they've gone wide, especially against Royal. When they went wide, they looked really dangerous, but they haven't been able to go wide previously. So maybe these two teams playing the same brand of rugby, wanting to follow the same philosophy of spreading it wide from the start, we will see an entertaining game of rugby. First, the home team, led by Pandula De Silva. Tehan Pereira has retained his place in the starting lineup. We have Deshapriya, the vice-captain, who makes his way back into the starting lineup after starting on the bench against Trinity. And then that second row pairing of Wayne Mack and Harit Senanayaka, who have been excellent in the line-out. Satita Jayatilaka comes in at number 8. Shani Vahangama adds a little bit of pace which they were lacking last week against Trinity in the third row, and Ahangama comes in on the flank as well with Delisle also takes his place. Christian Delisle, after being carried off last week, makes a reappearance. Chuti or Shenal De Silva starts at scrum half. He is partnered off against Ashwanta Herat rather at fly half, which is a big change for St. Thomas's. Nanayakkara, Jayawardena, Disanayaka and Hena Kankanamge. We'll see how they line up on the field, but the players have been listed this way for us. Navin Hena Kankanamge has been the destroyer, 7 tries already this season, and Dion Dias starts at the back with Mayon Jayawardena, a very high profile casualty for St. Thomas's. And for Wesley College, we have the captain Zayan Sabah, who leads at loose head prop. Amit is their starting hooker. Vimukti is a man that you would look out for. He's a good player at tight head prop, scores a few tries. Sirivardhana and Sabah in the second row. Dias and one of the triplets, Asanka Hashan, starts at number 7. Sashika Fernando at number 8. Lee Avishka is at number 9. He's one of a pair of twins. Subaya starts at 10. We have Kutubdeen, the former captain, who starts on the left wing. Gunatilaka, Danista Gunatilaka, who starts at number 12. Lee Avanta, the other twin, starts at number 13. Ranavira at 14. And Bahadin comes in at fullback. So a very curious setup for Wesley. They have a couple of twins and 3 triplets in their match day 23. So 2 gentlemen being responsible for 5 players on this team. So interesting team card that. But look out for the twins. They're very recognizable because they're mixed, half Chinese, half Sri Lankan. So, or actually they may even be full Chinese. And Avishka Lee and Avanta Lee are 2 men to look out for, along with Sashika Fernando in that Wesley College lineup. So a few changes for St. Thomas's. Dylan, we have Dion Dias coming in at fullback in place of the excellent Mayon Jayawardena, who suffered an knee injury, and this could be a little bit of a problem at the back for the Thomians.
It definitely can. Kicking would be crucial, but then again, Shanaka, when looking at the conditions right now, I foresee a bit of forecast, and I don't think that should be an issue. But all eyes are on the Thomians today, but we shouldn't forget the Wesleyites. I think they are the underdogs, though they are picking up momentum, and their backs are going to be pretty lethal today.
So a couple of changes to the Thomian team as well. Ferdinando doesn't find a place in the starting lineup today. Sarit Nanayakkara is the man who kicked that drop goal to change the fortunes of the game against Trinity College last week, and he will have a big job. Actually, Mayon Jayawardena is in the side, but he's listed in at centre. We'll see how they pan out. And Dias comes in possibly on the left wing in place of Ferdinando. So that is the only change actually in this St. Thomas's College side in the backs. And they do have an injury in the forwards as well. Danoja Vijayaratna, who has been an outstanding number 8 for St. Thomas's, making way for Ahangama, with Satija Jayatilaka probably shifting to the back. So Vijayaratna was the guy who gave the assist pass for the try against Royal. He was also a big ball carrier in the Trinity game, got injured in the last few minutes, Paul. And will they miss a big ball carrier, St. Thomas's, at the back of the scrum?
I'd imagine this week will be a little bit different in that the defensive pressure won't come on as heavily as it did last week with Trinity, but Wesley will still get up quickly at the first three defenders at the breakdown, so they'll still need the big ball carriers, but the coach was saying before the game that they're going to look to get just outside the edge, just get around the edge and look for a little bit more space, a little bit wider. So we'll see if they can express themselves there today.
Yes, defensive organization is going to be a huge part of this game. It hasn't been great from either of these teams. And I'm sure when they go out wide, they will need to scramble a bit. I think we'll see quite a few tries in this game, if I'm not mistaken. We'll probably see teams wanting to score, playing some really positive rugby. And Pradeep Fernando, if he's on the ball today, the man with the whistle, I think we're in for a really high tempo, intense game of rugby. Dylan, how do you see this one going?
The rain will be a factor, Shanaka. If the rain doesn't spoil the movement of the backs, we'll definitely see some intense running rugby. Looking at the Wesley side, I see that they'll be kicking the ball deep into the territory of St. Thomas's and attacking. That's how I see Wesley taking the game on today.
One more day of recovery for the Wesleyites as against Athomians, Paul. A really intense battle, physical battle last week against Trinity, whereas Wesley had it a little bit easier against DS. They ran up 64 points against that team. So do you think that will physically affect their performances today?
I think more than physically, the mental battle for St Thomas's will be there. They've come off a really big win. They've had 4 wins already. And there's a chance that they could be complacent. Although this team has got great belief. You saw them last week where they played the full 80 minutes and they came away with the win in the last, I'm not sure, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and it was such a close run thing. But they believe right to the end, and so I think as long as they can control the complacency, their bodies will be willing.
Yes, they really do believe that they can win any game. They were down and out against Trinity at one point in that game at about the 60-minute mark. Them roaring back into that match, and they managed to stay in it even in the 78th minute against Royal to make sure that they managed to score that match-winning try. So this is a team that is not short on confidence at all. They believe in themselves, they believe in each other, and they believe they can win a game even if they're down on the scoreboard. This Wesley College team, on the other hand, they haven't had too many wins to write home about. In this very same encounter last year, Dylan, I don't know whether you remember that bet, they were up by quite a few. And then Dion Dias came in and he completely changed the game in the last 15 minutes or so for St. Thomas's, and St. Thomas's ran away with it in the end. This young Wesley team just couldn't hold on to a huge lead, and that's something that they will remember. You think that'll affect them going into a game against the favourite Thomians?
Definitely, Sean, because the thing is this, even though the Thomians have been winning their games at the previous 2 encounters, it's in the last half that they actually started to make some movement and started gelling as a team. The backs were playing and connecting with the forwards. So on when you look pound to pound, Wesley seems like a formidable side, and it's anyone's game today.
Well, thanks for not sitting on the fence there, Dylan. Paul, how do you see this one going?
I'd imagine they'll both be coming out with fire and brimstone in the first 15 minutes. But what I'd like to see is I'd like to see game management. I'd like to see a 10 and a 9 control the ball and control the tempo of the game. I haven't seen that here in Sri Lanka yet, and that's why we see these seesawing games where teams come from nowhere and come roaring back and take the win in the last 5 minutes, is because teams aren't able to manage the game. They need to manage the time on the ball, the tempo as the teams go to each set piece, where they put the ball, the territories they play in. That sort of management comes from experience, and I think now we're in round 5, and I'd like to see that sort of play develop.
Yes, that's one of the issues yesterday as well. Isipatana against Science College. Science allowed back into that game after Isipatana were in a huge lead. The school songs of both sides, Wesley and St. Thomas's, will join you for the kickoff. Welcome to the live pictures here from this Oliver Gunithalaka Memorial Trophy match between Wesley and St. Thomas's. The double blues versus the blue and black. Plenty of connection between these two teams. Obviously, St. Thomas's, the Anglican school, Wesley, the Methodist school. And for me, personally, my maternal grandfather went to Wesley. My dad went to St. Thomas's. And so lots of family connections there as well. And Jeevan Gunithalaka. No relation of Sir Oliver Gunithalaka, but he was the coach of St. Thomas's last year when St. Thomas's actually came back and won that game. Will that be a factor this year? Does he know the Stormian team well enough to give the Wesleyites enough ammunition, Dylan? What do you think?
Shanaka, he has been coaching this side, the Thomian side, from ground up, from the junior level. He knows these players inside and out. That's going to be a factor, and that's going to be a factor which is not seen by many, because he will know exactly who to tackle, how to tackle them, how to answer questions, and how they are going to react to questions. And all I can say is, if it rains today, it's definitely beneficial for the big boys from Mount Lavinia. If it doesn't, Wesley is going to run the ball each time they get an opportunity, and they're going to run it wide.
Going wide seems to be the mantra for this Wesley College team. They've got some good speed out in the wing. Welcome back. Sorry for that small delay, but you haven't missed much action because the game is still to kick off. I think the referee is having a bit of a chat with the match commissioner about safety. And that's one thing that they will have to think about because the lightning is pretty strong around the ground. There was a massive gust of wind also that blew from right to left on your screen. So St. Thomas was playing with a heavy tailwind, and that might be a factor also in the first part of this game. That's going to be an interesting one. So the weather might play a more decisive, influential role on this game than we imagined, Paul.
That's right. If they do get to play in wet conditions where it's raining all the time, what you want to do is put the ball in front of your forwards. You want them running forward all the time, so you can put the ball up into the air from 9 or from 10 and make it a contestable ball. As soon as the ball goes up in the air, there's the questions to be answered, and the bounce of the ball can go anywhere. So with forwards running onto that type of ball, it's good for all of them.
Well, this is not good for the players, the fact that they're out here without anything happening, and the referee's having a bit of a consultation on the far side, probably going through the rules actually, trying to figure out if the game is stopped at what point and who wins the game. In that case, the players, you can see them just going through the motions of doing a few stretches so that they don't lose that intense warm-up that they were doing a few moments ago. This can only drop the concentration levels of the players. It's not a good thing at all. And the referee is having a chat with the coaches as well. I can see on the far side. I'm not sure whether you can see that on your screen, but looks like there is an administrative issue that needs to be discussed with the weather conditions being the way they are. And I hope they realize that the sooner they play, the sooner that they can get off.
So here at this point, you'd be asking your team leaders who are on the field just to gather your players around and talk to the key components. So your back leaders would have a word to the guys out the back and just say, let's keep warm, let's stay concentrated when the ball does get kicked off. We're ready mentally and physically for the battle.
So it looks like there's been someone coming out. I think it's Mr. Lakmal de Souza, who is the master in charge of the Stormian team. And I think the referee is having a chat about the color of the jerseys. Well, honestly, gents, they've been wearing these jerseys for 4 games now. Did we not see this problem coming up? Surely, I mean, you don't wait until 3 minutes before kickoff to discuss the color of the jerseys.
So they would have played last year. And what did they do last year? And is this a new phenomenon? Or
well, it's not a new strip, I can tell you that much. And Thomases have played in blue and black from time immemorial, and Wesley are the double blues. So surely this is something that could have been foreseen. It's something that the referees could have foreseen as well if they were going to have a problem with it. But to turn up at kickoff and say, okay, I'm sorry, I can't tell the difference between the two teams, is it leaves a few questions to be asked really about the administration of it.
Shanaka, this is the last thing you want before a game like this. If the concentration levels, the anticipation, everything, just if you do not think about it too hard, you're just going to lose the plot. And you're right, I don't know why they waited for the last minute to decide on the jerseys. It's like simple things, mate.
So really, what are their options here? They're going to play one team with jerseys and one team in skins, or are they?
Most probably. Because even the under 17 side has similar colors, right? Blue, black.
And so the onus falls on the home team to change the jerseys, or on the visiting. So the visiting team will have to provide an alternative strip if that's what's needed. And I wonder, do they forfeit? What happens if they can't provide an extra jersey? Do we postpone the match?
Well, they've just decided to get on with it, which is something they could have decided 10 minutes ago instead of waiting for the players to lose their warm-ups, lose their concentration, as Dylan was saying just now. I mean, just a completely unnecessary bit of a delay there. Completely unnecessary, and this is what good game management is about from referees. You don't allow things like this to happen. And when you talk about game management, it starts before kickoff and ends after kickoff. And we saw a very unfortunate incident yesterday, Paul, where we had a referee get assaulted. And that's not something that we want to see either, but it doesn't mean that the referees themselves can abdicate their duties.
That's right, and I'm very disappointed to see what happened yesterday, and I think as a rugby community we need to stand up and say that that's not acceptable. And just when I say that, the kick-off from St Thomas's was an unacceptable kick-off. It would have gone 4 metres into the air and maybe 4 metres forward.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's exactly a result of what Dylan was talking about. They've just completely lost composure. They've hung around, they've gotten cold, their bodies have gotten cold because the sun has gone down as well, and now Wesley have the early opportunity.
Shanaka, this is a perfect opportunity for Wesley to capitalize on a situation right smack bang in the middle of the field. They have the option of going on the left or right, and this is you don't want this at the beginning, right at the whistle. You don't want this.
Look for Sachika Fernando coming off the back of this scrum. He'd love to get his hands on the ball. Referee Fernando has got his hand up for a penalty already. That's a lovely hit. Brilliant run early on from Ranavira. Oh, knock forward, says the referee.
So there we have the St Thomas's coach before the game was saying that their wingers are dangerous, and there we have it in the first minute. Touches the ball and he slides straight through a gap and makes a huge line break.
Yes, that was a big break, and I think that'll put the cat among the pigeons a little bit in the Stomian defense. Now they have to defend in their 22 early on, but this is how they started the game against Trinity, so they won't worry too much. They're a team that sort of comes back in the last quarter of the game, and Sachit Jatilaka takes off. Sasanka Fernando chases him, and Ranavira, who made that big bust, has to chase back about 10 meters to make that tackle. The blindside flanker not really doing his job on that occasion for Wesley, and now St Thomas's through Deshapriya. This is the sort of rugby that they'll be looking to play. Spread it out wide quickly. Bhuminder Isanaik. It's a long ball out. It's over the head of Sarit Nanyakara. Mayon Jayawardena. Snaffled by Lee. Danista Gunitalaka managing to take his man into touch. So early nerves from both teams.
It was unfortunate the ball went to ground there. They had numbers on the outside. Wesley only had 2 or 3. I think they had 3 in their back line to defend, and St Thomas's were attacking with 5. So if the ball had gone to hand, they would have made big yards.
It's the first line out for Wesley. They've used this 4-man line out to good effect this season so far. And that's overthrown. That's a bad mistake first up from Amit. They've lost the ball, and St Thomas's will thankfully try and take this forward, although they've knocked it on at the base as well. Senal De Silva with a little bit of a knock forward at the bottom. So few early nerves for the teams, and this is all a result of that little delay because you looked at the warm-ups, they looked crisp, they looked nice, both teams in the warm-up, but suddenly just a little bit of that downtime, Paul, has led to this.
That's right. Now, we spoke about it before the game that now you need your leaders on the paddock to step in and say, okay, boys, now we're playing. Now we start concentrating. And now at this time, the front row will be saying, let's think about this set piece. Nothing else but this set piece.
And another knock forward. So the ball not being channeled by Fernando there, and Avishka under a little bit of pressure at number 9. Senal De Silva did excellently to come around the back and snag his opposite number. He's been excellent doing that. Just falling, just making sure that the number 8 or the number 9 doesn't get a chance to get clean pair of heels away from the base. Such an important snag to make.
Yes, he's an important player for St Thomas's, De Silva. He controls the game. He sets the tempo for their forwards to follow, and he snipes around the scrum there in defensive situations, but also in attack as well.
So 3 pairs of brothers in this Thomian team, in this Wesley team rather. The Lee twins, then you've got the triplets, and then also the Sabah brothers, one in the front row, one in the second row. Referee Fernando keeping his hand out for advantage. It looked like Avishka might have gone a little offside. Didn't really affect the game, but the referee will bring it back. He's called it for driving upward. So that's a mistake from the Wesley front row. Govinda Disanayaka now to make amends for his botched kickoff. He'll want to strike this one nice and cleanly to get some confidence back. And he does so. Nice to see players using the drop punt, Paul. A lot of players use the sliced kick off the side of their boot, which means that on the near side, the right-footed kickers find it very difficult to find the touchline on the near side.
Yeah, that's right. And you remember in our day, we used the torpedo, which was a beautiful looking kick if you got it right, but if you got it wrong, it just went straight up the field.
Harit Nanayakkara wins that one. Catches it in front of his chest. It's a good rolling maul from Pandula De Silva, who's right there in the middle with the ball, the skipper. They've done well now. And now coming on in the angle is our Ashwanta Herat. It's a strong forward runner. Tehan Pereira, Pandula De Silva tries to go over the top, but looks like the ball is knocked on. And the referee says that number 5 came in from the side. Well, it wasn't a ruck, so I don't see why you couldn't. And now Wesley have come away with it. Somehow they've managed to turn it over, and coming away with it is Sirivardhana. And Avishka puts a nice punt in. It's a lovely box kick. Beautiful clearance from the strummer, from the base. That's a nice bit of skill.
That's right. And as a forward, you would have liked to have seen that, where you work hard for the ball. So they turned the ball over 5 metres from their own line. They got the ball. They drove up 5 metres, and then their halfback puts the boot to the ball, and all of a sudden they're up by halfway.
So St Thomas's just need to be a little bit more patient, Dylan. There was a try on for all money there if they had gone through another couple of phases.
Shanka, this has been the problem with the Thomians right throughout the season. They lack finishing. They do all the hard work. They go right to the end of the tunnel, but couldn't just really make it. Ball is out, and the big boy, ooh, nice big hit. He's still moving.
Sabah trying to put the hit by Pandula De Silva. Lovely angle from him. Tehan Pereira handles beautifully. Lovely run from Pereira. Now they've managed to get it away. Lovely steal in the tackle by Wesley. And again, Lee Avishka puts this one into touch. It's almost a mirror image of the last kick. Beautifully done from the little halfback. But a superb bust there from Pandula De Silva. Ran a beautiful angle, Paul.
That's right, and it was the halfback that put him through the gap. He just picked up and moved away, and he draws a defender, and then he puts puts the big man through the hole, and then he offloaded to another prop as well, and then the prop was through. He had a man outside him, but threw a dummy. Thought he was a centre, but he's actually front rower.
De Silva with the throw in. Sachita Jatilaka, this time he's brought down first time by Hashan. Lovely ball out the back. And now the big forward runners. Pandula De Silva once again gets up ahead of steam. Shanal De Silva, Ahangama, Disanaika, Ashwanta Herat comes back inside, dragged down. Sachita Jatilaka now looked like it was Subair who came in a little too quickly. Left the defensive line. And now they have numbers on the right if they can use it. Ahangama, Bhuminda Disanaika. They needed to go outside there. St. Thomas is getting a little carried away with the contact area, trying to smash into the opposition when they've got options out wide. And now they're using the pick and go. Quick ball for De Silva once again. Bhuminda Disanaika now. Ashwanta Herat gives it to Nanyakara. Nanyakara is stepping through one, stepping through another, throws the offload. It stays in the hands. Ahangama does really well to support. And now it's available for the Thomians once again. Deshapriya now keeps the ball in hand, the front rower. The Thomian front row in full cry there, but the referee saying holding on. Harsh call there.
What I am liking from St. Thomas is their patience. So they're not throwing 50-50 passes, they're just holding on to the ball and going to ground and letting their support come and drive over the top, and then they recycle the ball, and it's much cleaner play than trying to go the 50-50 pass and losing the ball to a knock-on.
Well, that was not Deshapriya. In fact, it was Wayne Mack. And except for the first couple of minutes, the first couple of phases, we have St. Thomas's who have been pretty much camped in the Wesley half. Wesley still to get a line out right. Amit does need to get this throw into the hands of Fernando if he's to give his team any chance. Thomians have been competing well, and Harit Seranayaka looks like he's read this one, but that's a nice little bit of movement from Fernando. Gives it to the younger Sabah brother. Comes in back to where they started. De Silva with a good tackle on him. And this is the elder brother, the captain Sabah. Takes it forward. Beautifully stolen there by Ahangama. Brilliantly well. Deserves his place in the side. And shows exactly why. Now there's counter-attack ball. Mayon Jayawardene and Navin Henekan Kanamge brought down by Ranavira on the far side. And now Wesley have come away with it again. It's helter-skelter stuff here. And it's still available for St. Thomas's now. And the referee has said coming in from the side. So the ball popping up all over the place. Good turnovers there. Good skill from Ahangama, who I was surprised was left off the team last week.
Yeah, that's right. He got in there early, and it was not only him, it was his teammate that made the chop tackle. And then he got in a great position. He had a wide body stance. His head was up. He was over the ball, and he was able to steal the ball. It was excellent play.
So now the pressure will come back. Dylan, you think they'll do a rolling maul here again? The first one was not too bad.
They should just stick to the basics, keep the ball tight, and in the 22 something or the other happens and they just drop the ball. Those kind of things are unforgivable, right? You work hard, you get to that 22, and you just need to keep that try. You need to keep going.
Good initial hit by Wesley, retarded the progress, but St. Thomas's broke off nicely. But again, the referee said sealing the ball off. So obviously he'd ruled the maul was ended there, Paul, if it was being sealed off.
Yeah, that's right. A player broke away, and in their haste to get there and support, they came in and really what they need to do there is they need to keep their head up and their back straight, and that means that they look like they're still off the ground, and they're making the ball into a contest situation.
Well, that's a bad mistake from Wesley. They don't find touch. And Navin Henekan Kanamge now gets one of his first touches. Sarit Nanyakara gives it away to Dion Dias, the man who killed the game for Wesley last year. And Coach Laga maybe coincidentally has included him today. Satida Jatilaka. Lovely ball off the back. Pandula De Silva, the front row forwards handling in the middle. And just as Dylan was talking about the patience, De Silva throws a loose pass. And Avishka now will put another little deep punt. The chasers are nowhere to be seen. And Bhuminder Dissanayake will return the favour. Taken by Omar Kutubdeen. Read that one beautifully, the winger. And now another kick with nobody at the back. Now the chase needs to be on. Ranavira, who made that telling break earlier on, is a little flat on his heels. Now needs to make the tackle, and he does. Mayon Jayawardena caught in possession. This is dangerous from the fullback. He's got a very Christian Cullen-like attitude where he wants to run everything back, but he needs to make sure he's got support. He doesn't have Jeff Wilson on his side. Big hit by Navin Henekan Kanamge on Fernando, the number 8, who just flops the ball. Not a good take from him. Had an outstanding game against St. Joseph's, but yet to show that sort of form today.
But there you saw the number 9, Lee, from Wesley, put in that beautiful kick, beautiful box kick. It might be his 5th box kick of the game, and it just puts the ball out in front of his forwards, and that's what we're talking about in these conditions. That's what the forwards want to see.
Well, Wesley have a player down in back play, Bahardeen, the fullback. So that's a bit of a problem for them. They might need to replace him, but luckily for them, Kutubdeen can go to the back at fullback, but Bahardeen, or Baldi as he is known, is up and insists he can carry on as you do. Would you have gone off for a concussion back in the day, Dylan?
Never. Even if my coach says, Dylan, are you okay? I'll not then say no problem.
Concussion didn't exist in those days, did it?
Exactly. You just put some ice, and magic spray comes on, and you're back in the field.
In my day, we had a magic bucket. So there'd be ice and water in the bucket, and there's a sponge. They'd come out, rub it on, you're away.
Don't forget, you can check us out on all our social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, Instagram, the lot. We are on it, ThePapare.com. And any of the pictures, sound bites, whatever it may be, video clips, everything available on our social media platforms. So do subscribe. Well, another stoppage, and the rain has started coming down here at Havelock Park. No points on the board yet. Both teams have threatened, but not been able to put the finishing touches on. After the initial break, St. Thomas's have made all the play. And Christian Delisle, held up in the tackle from the young fly half, Subair, or Dore as he is known to his teammates. Satida Jatilaka runs a good angle. He's doing plenty of carrying at first receiver today. Bhuminder Dissanayake now. Long ball out to Sarit Naniakara. Naniakara looks for Jayawardena. And the ball being spilt once again, but it went back, says the referee, and St. Thomas's still have it. Ahangama bridges nicely. Pandula De Silva now. He's been the man making most of the yards for St. Thomas's. And now Ashwanta Herat picks up at the back. Having a bit of an identity crisis, Herat, this season. Thinks he's a forward sometimes. And straight through comes... That was Sirivardhana who came through and conceded the penalty. And the bad news for Wesley is again in back play. They have Lee Avanta down, and he doesn't look too good. Looks like he was holding his ankle or his hip. And that'd be a huge blow. They could have dealt with the loss of Bahardeen because they had cover. But dealing with the loss of Lee Avanta will be a huge problem. He'll leave a massive hole in the outside centre berth for Wesley. But St. Thomas's now, after some good grinding work, look like they have the first opportunity of scoring points, Paul.
That's right. So they've relied on their forward runners in the first 15 minutes of the game, where the Wesley College defensive line hasn't been moving up quick enough, I felt. And they've really just let the St. Thomas forward runners come charging at them, and they gain so much momentum and get so far over the advantage line that the next ruck that comes in, the next guy can charge in again, and it doesn't give the defensive line a chance to realign. and also means that everyone in the attacking team gets to go forward instead of having to go sideways or back.
Well, it should be a pretty easy kick for Dion Dias. He came on last year in the same fixture and smacked over a 40-meter penalty from the left touchline. Changed the game in St. Thomas's favour. And he's been told to move out of the way, chum. I'm taking this one. So he's placed the ball, and Ashwant Herat says, thanks very much, mate. I'll take it from here. So Ashwant Herat, the senior kicker in the lineup, obviously, because he's done very well so far this season. Oh, and he's come off the post. And he knocks it on as well. Wesley still going. And now Lee Avishka puts it up in the air. It's gone nowhere, but the referee should come back for the knock forward, and he does. So Wesley will have another chance to clear their lines. Looks like Avishka has been taken off. They haven't substituted him yet. Avantha has been taken off, rather. They haven't substituted him yet, but they'll have to do so pretty quickly. Yeah.
So the elements are really coming into play here. There's the wind's picked up, the rain's coming down, but there was a bit of a comedy of errors, wasn't it? The kick hit the post. We were right out in front, hit the post, he fell over, ball came back to him, he knocked on because he was on the ground.
Oh, that's a lovely break by Fernando. Needed to give the ball out to Kutubuddin. He was screaming for it. And Avishka with a lovely kick. That's a beautiful kick, actually. Absolutely stunning kick. Dion Dias palms it infield, and Mayon Jayawardena will put his speedster under pressure. Danista Gunatilaka follows him, but misses the tackle. Dinaru Ranavira, Gunatilaka comes back, misses another tackle. Whoa, Navin Henakan Kanamge. What a player this guy is turning out to be. But he should have been stopped 20 meters downfield, but instead almost made a break and scored in the corner.
I've got to say, if you're a backs coach and you've got a player like that, every move would be, let's pass the ball to him. Because he's fantastic. He gets the ball, he puts the ball in the right arm, accelerates away. He looks like he's going to come back in, stands the player up, and then accelerates away again with an excellent palm off.
Gunatilaka tried hard, but I think the pace of Henakan Kanange was just too much. And that ball again spilt at the back of the line out. So a few overthrows now for Wesley. That's something that they've got to deal with. They're not winning their ball. Just begin to wonder if Fernando had given that ball to Kutubuddin a little earlier, would have put his winger away in the corner. As we hear the cries of Zam Zam Zaki from the Wesley supporters. So it's still 0-0, and last week as well we saw our Ashwant Herat hit the post ball in a crucial conversion. Then he went and converted one from the right touchline. So he seems to be liking hitting the posts.
It's a skill that you practice at training.
Fernando goes off the back, takes two men with him. Oh, but good counter ruck from St. Thomas's. That's really good strength. And just to let you know that Lee Avantha has been substituted. One of the triplets, the other of the triplets, has made his way onto the park. Zubair takes this behind him. It's not a good pass. And that's a ball lost. Avantha Hashan is a man who has replaced Lee. And referee playing advantage. Tehan Pereira throws the dummy. Not going anywhere this time. And now Pandra De Silva gives a long ball out to Henakan Kanamge. He's brought down this time by Dinaru Ranavira. It's a forward pass, says the referee.
It's a great battle out on that wing. Both of them are going hammer and tong at each other, and one goes, one gets the upper hand, and then the other one just wants to come back and nail him again. So we'll watch that battle with interest.
Yes, it's good to see these little rivalries building up within teams. It's not Kerban versus Campisi, it's Ranavira versus Henakan Kanamge, but it's no less intense. And as you predicted, Dylan, the rains have come down, and St. Thomas's will be happier for this.
Shanaka, these are conditions that are definitely going to help St. Thomas's in their game today. They're just going to keep it tight. keep it to the forwards. As you saw earlier, they're doing the maul very well. The rolling maul is pretty solid, and all they'll be looking is keeping the ball tight, using the mauls, using the forwards, and picking it and just asking questions from the Wesleyites. The only thing I don't understand with the Wesley players is that they are not attacking, and whenever they kick the ball, there is no one chasing it. What do you think about that, Shanaka?
You're absolutely right, Dylan, because one thing we noticed with Trinity was the main reason that they were able to put St. Thomas's under pressure was their kick chase was excellent throughout that whole game. But this time, it doesn't look like their chase is very good from Wesley. And the ball knocked on in the pouring rain by Senal De Silva. You got to feel for the scrum halves, really, in this horrific weather.
So this is the type of weather that New Zealanders are brought up with. This is how we train in this sort of rain, and this is how we play. And the way we play is we just play up and down the tram tracks is what we say, is we keep the ball close to the sidelines, we kick in those areas, we don't try and go out wide, we just go from the 9-10 and keep it in the forwards.
Yes, it's not happy conditions out there, not for the players, not for the spectators either. And that's a decent kick put in there, but it's out on the full. Just slipped off the side of the boot from Dore Suber, and Dion Dias tries to take it quickly. Good spirit there from Danis Gunitilaka and Meon Jayawardena, but the referee has come back for the knock forward. Spectators getting absolutely soaked out in front of us. Very happy that we are here in the commentary box and not getting soaked. Love to allow these people in, but will be completely overrun.
So now this is when your forward leaders need to stand up and say, set piece time, boys. This is where we go to work. Let's make sure we get the ball back. Give the 9 clean, easy ball to pick up, and then it can go to, I doubt it'll go further than the 12, and he'll just cut back in and set a target for the forwards to charge at, recycle the ball, and hold on to it.
Lovely inside ball there to the other triplet, Hashan. And referees said not releasing the tackler. So we've got 2 of the triplets on. We have Avanta Hashan in the outside center position, and Asanka Hashan, who started off the game at number 7.
So here we see, because the wind and rain are so strong and they're in the middle of the field, they decided not to take the kick for the sideline. Also because their line out isn't working as well, so they just want to keep the ball in hand and give it to the forwards and rumble up.
So here they're keeping it close. Sarit Nanyakara, the man who was adjudged to have been offside there, gave away the penalty. Omar Qutubdin takes it quickly, tries to catch the defense snapping, looks for a runner, finds Danista Gunitilaka, his vice captain. Needs to settle this one a little bit further if they want to play close. Zayan Sabah now, the captain, needs to not get isolated. The ball props loose and Ahangama goes in after it. This is like a bar of soap, this rugby ball. Squirting around all over the place. The referee's held his hand up for penalty advantage. And now the numbers have opened up for St. Thomas's. Any one of these boys could score the try if they can get the ball to hand, but it's hacked clean. Dinar Ranavira tries to chase it, falls over, maybe over his own legs. And now St. Thomas has run it back. This is impossible conditions here. Tropical storm at its best. That ball taken well. Can barely identify who the players are now. Avishka puts the kick in and he chases it. He looks like he's going to be the first man to get there. Is he? No, but Dion Dias carries it back and dots it down. He had no option. The young scrum half turned winger. Did well to get there in the first place, but it was a good pressure kick from Avishka, who will want to score a try now off the 5 meters.
That's right. And he's decided that these kicks are too good to just let be wasted. So he's decided to chase his own kick and put pressure on, and now they're right in front of the posts. And So in these conditions, not many points are going to be scored. It's not going to go out wide. And these opportunities now have to be taken. Maybe it might be a 3-point game. Maybe it might be a 1 try. So every time you get inside the red zone, you've got to score.
I said at the start of the game that I thought it'll be a high-scoring, high-intensity tempo atmosphere game, but looks like the rain has put paid to that. Fernando needs to pick this one up at the back, manages to do so. And that ball is dropped by Hashan.
Shanaka, the Thomians must be kicking themselves for missing that penalty. It was a sitter, and these conditions are brutal. It's quite harsh. Even for the forwards to keep the ball with them, the rain is too harsh, and I think there's a heavy gust of wind flowing from the left to the right side of the park.
Yes, and we've just been informed, gentlemen, that we've only got the audio at the moment. The video cameras are not able to provide pictures for now, so we're going to have to call this game. St. Thomas's defending a midfield scrum on the 22-meter line. Jayatilaka breaking off on the left, which is the blind side, and Senal De Silva now runs straight in at Omar Kutubdin, runs it all the way up to the 45-meter mark. Joshua Delil snagged by Avishka Hassan and picked up by Bahardin. It's a messy game now, which we can expect. Sabah gives it to Amit, his hooker. They're going right to left. Wesley, they've got numbers on the outside and they need to chase it, but St. Thomas's have managed to come away with that ball illegally. And it's another penalty pretty much on the 50-meter line. A little bit to the right-hand side of the post.
So here, and the referee wants to have a word with the captain of St. Thomas's, because that's the third penalty they've given away in probably the last 4 minutes. They gave one penalty away in the first 20 minutes or 15 minutes, and now they've given consecutive penalties away, and that's for not releasing the player. And I think he's given their team the warning.
Yes, I think he's blown a few penalties for the same offence, Paul, which is exactly what he was telling the captain, and you saw him gesturing with his thumb towards the bench, and that's where he said you'll be going next time if one of your players does that. So Wesley now with a little bit of momentum. The rain has let up just ever so slightly, but strong gusting winds from behind the Thomians' backs into the faces of these Wesleyites. The spirits haven't flagged, but you can feel for these backs who are just standing here waiting for the ball, facing the driving rain, Paul.
So Wesley have the ball 22 metres out from the line, but they haven't had a line out that's worked so far, and there's another one that goes astray.
It's another one really gone a begging. Wesley have been terrible in their lineouts today. Bhuminda Dissanayake now has a chance to clear from his 22-meter line. Bahardin realizes the ball won't go very far, tries to step, but it's not the wisest thing to do at this point in time. And two knock-ons, one from Bahardin and one from Ashwant Herath, leads to a scrum again in midfield, and this time the scrum goes to St. Thomas's. Don't think half time can come soon enough for either of these teams, Paul, hoping that the weather will let up just a little bit.
So accuracy here of skill execution is important, and how you have accuracy of skill execution is by concentrating. So each player has to concentrate on where they are at the time, what their job is at the time. So we saw St. Thomas's make a break out of their own 22 and make it all the way to the halfway line. Now, the skill execution that was needed there was that players needed to get to the player who was on the ground quickly, and that didn't happen, and Wesley got to turn the ball over. So they're basic skills that need to be executed well.
So you've got a scrum now on the halfway mark, just on the side of the Wesley team. So St. Thomas is just in the Wesley territory. It's pretty much a centre scrum. And Sachita Jayatilaka will have the options to go off the back here. St. Thomas is lining up 3 on the left, 2 on the right. So it looks like they've left some space for Henakan Kanamge to be brought into operation. Wesley defense will have to be good here as Senal De Silva feeds the scrum. Sachita Jayatilaka. Sarit Nanayakara passes the ball behind the player, and they are lucky because they had a penalty coming. And it looks like they're going to have a word with the Wesley College captain as well, telling him about lifting in the scrum. They're having a chat with Dumindu. Oh, that's a harsh penalty. I didn't notice lifting as badly as that, but that's a huge blow.
So the referee must know something about the dark arts of the front row, and he's seen something he doesn't like. He must have given them a warning beforehand, because it's a big blow to lose your tight head prop.
Well, Paul, there was one penalty very early on, for lifting in the front row. But I'm not sure it warranted an immediate yellow card like that. But now, massive problem for Wesley, and St. Thomas's will do well to capitalize, Dylan.
Shanaka, this is a scoring opportunity here. They really need to get this right in the 22 yet again. I think this is the 5th time they're going to go on the 22 on the attack. Brings it down. All set for a maul. They're moving, they're asking questions. Maul looks good. The little De Silva is working overtime. A small cutout pass. Pick and drive. Are they over the line? No. They need to finish, Shanaka. They are not finishing in the 22, and that's costing St. Thomas's a great deal.
Deshapriya takes it quickly, and he's almost got over the line, looks like it. Referee says not yet. We saw the Thomian players celebrate. And it looks like he's called a knock forward. Oh dear. The Thomian players don't look happy about that. Don't look happy about that at all. They thought they'd scored. And instead, Wesley will have to defend a 5-meter scrum without their tight head prop, one of their key players. So they'll have to get a back rower off ball and get a front rower on.
Yeah, the pressure's still on. Even though they've got to put into the scrum, they're still 5 metres from their own line. Oppressive conditions. They'll be wanting a quick feed. It looks like the stretch is coming on and then coming off, wandering around. Looks like they're looking for the buffet table.
It looks like they're bringing the stretcher in for the guy who was taken off about 15 minutes ago. And a change has been made in the front row, because they'll have to take off a back rower.
Shanaki, if they can wheel the scrum, because the Wesley tight head is not there, if they can wheel the scrum, they can dominate each and every scrum. And that will be definitely an added advantage and a great attacking position for the Thomians.
I'm sure you're not suggesting that they deliberately wheel the scrum, Dylan, because that's against the rules, surely? But since Jayavira has come on for Wesley, he'll probably go into the second row with the younger Sabah brother going into the front row. Shamil Amit moves to the tight head prop position. So the open side flankers gone off. That's Avantha Hashan. And now Sasanka Fernando comes away with it. He needs to set this up and give his scrum half an opportunity to clear from the base. And holding on is the call, so another costly mistake from Wesley. And now St. Thomas's have a chance. Another chance, I should say. Senal De Silva, big ball out to Duminda Disanaika, and going over the line. Oh, not over the line. Referee says another offside call. Don't know how the lines are even going to be visible now for the referee.
So that's the third penalty in the last 3 minutes inside their red zone, inside the 5 metres from their own try line, for coming up offside. So he must be getting close to giving another yellow card.
Absolutely, and they can't afford to go down to 13 players. Wesley are lucky they haven't been warned yet. They need to keep their discipline if they are to keep out this massive Thomian captain. Smashes his way straight through that old-fashioned wall. Bhuminda Dissanayake now cuts back to Ashwant Herath. Wayne Mack, but the referee rules a knock forward.
It's a bit cold out there, and you can see the players all cuddling in together just to keep warm.
Well, I think there was a punch thrown there. Paul, I don't know who threw it or who received it, but there definitely was a flying fist. And maybe the linesmen have seen something.
Conditions like this, you really feel for the players, Shanaka. I mean, the ball popping out, they're dropping it. It's hard, it's wet, it's beyond your control, and it's bad for a steady flow. You can't really get into a good momentum going. You can't really focus and if you can't hold on to the ball, you can't do anything much, right, mate? So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for either team.
So what they need to do in this situation is you put the ball on the boot and you let the other team handle the ball, the bar of soap, and see if they can knock it on and try and play a territorial game. And either put the ball long or else put the ball onto the ground. You put it in front of your forwards, you keep moving forward, and this is when you see the skill sets that you train from Monday to Friday coming in. Your body height's got to be low when you're coming into contact. You got to drive past the ball, and those skills will be coming into the fore now.
Absolutely, Paul. Execution is going to be a huge factor going forward. There's plenty of this game left to play and not a point on the board yet. And that's not because both teams haven't tried. It's because things have just not worked out. The referee and the referee's assistant have a mighty long chat. Nothing came of it. It looks like it might be the last move before half-time, but St. Thomas's, camped out in this line, having forced penalties, will be desperate to score before half-time. It's an influential period of the game in which to score, really drive the dagger into the hearts of this Wesley defense, who are one man down already. Try to put some pressure on the scrum, and they outhook it. Satyajit Tilaka goes off the back. That's a tight head, and what a crucial time for it. Pandula De Silva trying to barrel his way to the line. Senal De Silva. Bhuminda Dissanayake, Ashwant Herath gets the ball away. Sarit Nanayakkara will score. And finally, after many attempts of just smashing at this Wesley College line just before halftime, a well-deserved try for St. Thomas's against a Wesley team who's one man down, had absolutely no answer. And you ask yourself, Paul, sometimes, why don't St. Thomas's do this a little bit more often from first phase?
Well, look, they've been trying to. The conditions are difficult, but what I saw that I liked there is that the back line became more compressed, so the passing shorter. It meant that he had a player close to him, Pereira. When he got half through the gap, it was just a little short offload that he managed to get the ball away and put the player through to score the try.
Yes, good skills from Ashwant Herath there. Took the defense on, dragged in 3 players to bring him off his feet, but not before he got the ball away. And Sarit Nanayakkara won't score an easier try than that. He'd be very happy for his inside centre doing the bulk of the work there, but a key score. And looks like Nanayakkara is the sort of player who turns up when his team needs him. Scored that brilliant drop goal last week. And now Dion Dias gets to place the ball and take the kick. And you can see why. It's a beautiful kick from Dias. He's clearly the more accomplished, if not the senior kicker in the team. Has time to make the sign of the cross before he kicks the ball. And Dylan, that'll make much happier reading on the scoreboard for the St. Thomas's team, who have been trying so hard and just before half-time have managed to score.
I'm all smiles here, Shanaka, and this is a low-scoring game, and the conditions are not helping any team at all. And going into half-time with some sort of scores on the board is definitely comforting.
Well, Lee Avantha, who's watching from the sideline now, will be kicking himself. He'll know that that was his man that scored. And Avishka does well to thump this one nice and long. And Bhuminda Disanayaka doesn't try any fancy stuff, just boots it into touch.
So he takes the ball up to the 10 metres in their own half, the St Tommy, and now they'll just be looking for set play to set play and hold the ball in tight, and both teams will be looking to do that.
So another short line out for Wesley. Looks like throw-in is going to be taken by Sabah. Amit has been doing most of the throws so far, but again, it's a very, very crooked throw. Could see it from even where we were sitting. Poor old Fernando has got absolutely no balls going anywhere near his hands today. Just the one. And the rugby is one sport where I can actually say that, and it means something legit. So the line-out has really caused problems, Dylan, and if your line-out doesn't function well, you can't play a game of rugby, not in these conditions.
Shanaka, wet conditions, your set plays have to be like precise, and Wesley, they've got it all wrong. They're throwing it deep. I mean, jumping number 4 or 6 in these conditions. I mean, I don't know why they're doing it. They should just bring it down quick. Number 2, don't make it complicated. Just keep it simple.
Satya Jayatilaka again off the back provides the extra man, and Ashwanta Herat does well in these conditions by just putting his head down and taking it to the line. Nane Akara, ball goes behind him, and a lovely boot there by Senal. And runner, this is Dinedu Ranavira now, but kicks it straight into the hands of Dion Dias. But the referee says a late tackle, a late charge on Ranavira will give the penalty. And Kutubdeen now gives it to the younger Sabah brother. He's isolated. It doesn't look like... and 10 meters, says the referee. So perhaps they should take the points here, Paul. It's only 7 points to nil at the moment.
Maybe sanity might prevail here and they'll take the points. And in a game like this, points are vital. It's such a simple game. At the end of the game, when the whistle goes, the one who has the most points wins. So they've decided to take a tap. So that's a commentator's curse.
Straight in goes the little number 6. Being called into the side. Here's Amit, has to make amends for all those line-out throws, has Shamil Amit. And going laterally, Danista Gunitilaka straightens the line a bit. And going in is Christian Delil. But the penalty comes. The referee says a ruck was formed. And they take it quickly. But no, referee says, hang on. So what's the position here, Paul? There were a few penalties. For instance, Wesley conceded quite a few penalties. St. Thomas has conceded quite a few penalties and were warned. So do they have to do that in a row once again, or does the next one count?
Well, it's up to the referee. It's how he deems the players are playing and what sort of spirit they're making those penalties.
Avanta Hashan. And here's Zubair. Danista Gunitilaka to Bahardeen, to Umar Kutubdeen. Nowhere to go for him. And he's pushed out into touch, and that's pretty much half-time, according to referee Fernando. And Kutubdeen needed to do all he could to step back into the field of play there. And will Wesley come back to rue those 3 points that they left on the park?
Yeah, that's a good point, Al. And what a weird half that was, with a bizarre beginning where they talked about the jerseys and they held the game up for 5 minutes. Then some storm came in and made Havelock Park into Havelock Lake. Then the two teams, they can't hold it onto the bar of soap, and there's one try scored from many opportunities, and teams, Wesley there just turning down 3 points at the end with a minute to go in the half. It was a bizarre game of rugby, but you know, they've got another 40 minutes to go. 7-0, it's anyone's match.
Well, it's a game that forwards will enjoy. Dylan, you're enjoying watching this. I'm sure the spectators here who are drenched in the rain now will probably want some tries to be scored, but as a forward, you're loving this one.
I'm loving it, but I really feel for the players. It really, you cannot really get into a momentum or a steady flow. But at the next half, I guarantee you Wesley is going to question why they did not take that penalty kick in a low-scoring game like this. That is vital, and that might cost them the game.
That's right. It might cost them the game, but as a coach, you want decisions to be made on the paddock, and you want to back your players. And if the captain on the paddock says, "Let's go for it," I feel that our team has some momentum, and I feel that we can go for it. You want them to make those decisions. In hindsight, it didn't pay off, but if they'd scored a try, then you think, excellent. But you want your players to back their decisions.
Well, that brings us to the end of the first half of this Sir Oliver Gunithalaka Memorial Trophy. It's 7-0 in favour of St Thomas's at the end of that 40 minutes. And these Wesleyites know that leading a game for the entire game is almost not enough. That's what they did against Wesley, but against Trinity, but lost that game. And St Thomas's will also know that they've come back to win games a long time into it. And just to let you know that Royal College defends the trophy at half time. And the scores are 17-7 in favour of Royal at the half at the Bradby Shield contest at Royal College Complex. So two very close games on the cards. We'll be back in a few minutes.
මේ මගේ ටැබ් එක ඩයලොග් ලේසි පේ වලින් ගත්තේ.
ලේසි පේ ඩයලොග් හඳුනා දෙන ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය.
Latest phone, smartphone, tab.
මාස් පතා ටික ටික ගෙවන්න. මාසෙට රුපියල් 209ක් වගේ පොඩි ගාණකටත් තියෙනවා. ක්‍රෙඩිට් කාඩ්, ස්ටෑන්ඩින් ඕඩර් මොකුත් ඕනේ.
මේ හැම දෙයක් වගේම ඩයලොග් ටෙලිවිෂන් කනෙක්ෂන් ලේසි පේ වලින් අරගන්න.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය ඩයලොග් හඳුන්වා දෙන ලේසි පේ. දෛනික හා මාසික ප්ලෑන්ස් දැන් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ හැමෝටම මාසෙකට රුපියල් 209 සිට ගෙවන්න ගන්න. ඩයලොග් ශාඛාවකට හෝ බලයලත් අලෙවි නියෝජිතයෙකු වෙත පැමිණෙන්න. ඩයලොග් ලේසි පේ ටක් ගාලා ගන්න ටික ටික ගෙවන්න.
Dialogue Self-Care app is Sri Lanka's first and only award-winning app and is the best in the region with trilingual support. So we further improved the app to give more power and control to you. Even more powerful now, with over 50 dialogue services at your control anytime, any place, in your own preferred language. New services for Club Vision members. Step onto the world of self-care possibilities. Download now for free.
දැන් ඩේටා වලට ඔච්චර ලෝභ වෙන්න ඕන නැහැ. ඔන්න ඩයලොග් හෝම් බ්‍රෝඩ්බෑන්ඩ් එකේ ඩේටා ඩබල් වෙලා.
එහෙනම් ඩබල් ගෙවන්නත් වෙයි.
නෑ, තියෙන ඩේටා වගේ ඩබල් ලැබෙනවා පරණ ගානටම නොමිලේ. ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ අංකකේ සහ වේගවත්ම ඉන්ටර්නෙට් සම්බන්ධතාවයෙන් දැන් රැට ඩේටා ඩබල් වෙලා.
ඩේටා ඩබල්.
ඩයලොග් අනාගතය ආදායි.
මේ මගේ ටැබ් එක ඩයලොග් ලේසි පේ වලින් ගත්තේ.
ලේසිපේ ඩයලොග් හඳුනා දෙන ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය.
Latest phone, smartphone, tab.
මාස් පතා ටික ටික ගෙවන්න. මාසෙට රුපියල් 209ක් වගේ පොඩි ගානකටත් තියෙනවා. ක්‍රෙඩිට් කාඩ්, ස්ටෑන්ඩින් ඕඩර් මුකුත් ඕනේ.
මේ හැම දෙයක් වගේම ඩයලොග් ටෙලිවිෂන් කනෙක්ෂන් ලේසි පේ වලින් අරගන්න.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය ඩයලොග් හඳුන්වා දෙන ලේසිපේ දෛනික හා මාසික ප්ලෑන්ස් දැන් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ හැමෝටම මාසකට රුපියල් 209 සිට ගෙවන්න ගන්න. ඩයලොග් ශාඛාවකට හෝ බලයලත් අලෙවි නියෝජිතයෙකු වෙත පැමිණෙන්න. ඩයලොග් ලේසිපේ ටක් ගාලා ගන්න ටික ටික ගෙවන්න.
Dialogue Self-Care app is Sri Lanka's first and only award-winning app and is the best in the region with trilingual support. So we further improved the app to give more power and control to you. Even more powerful now, with over 50 dialogue services at your control anytime, any place, in your own preferred language. New services for Club Vision members. Step onto the world of self-care possibilities. Download now for free.
ළමයෝ දැන් ඩේටා වලට ඔච්චර ලෝභ වෙන්න ඕන නැහැ. ඔන්න ඩයලොග් හෝම් බ්‍රෝඩ්බෑන්ඩ් එකේ ඩේටා ඩබල් වෙලා.
එහෙනම් ඩබල් ගෙවන්නත් වෙයි.
නෑ, තියෙන ඩේටා වගේ ඩබල් ලැබෙනවා පරණ ගානටම නොමිලේ.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ අංකකේ සහ වේගවත්ම ඉන්ටර්නෙට් සම්බන්ධතාවයෙන් දැන් රැට ඩේටා ඩබල් වෙලා.
ඩේටා ඩබල්.
ඩයලොග් අනාගතය ආදායි.
මේ මගේ ටැබ් එක ඩයලොග් ලේසි පේ වලින් ගත්තේ.
ලේසිපේ ඩයලොග් හඳුන්වා දෙන ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය.
latest phone, smartphone, tab.
මාස් පතා ටික ගෙවන්න. මාසෙට රුපියල් 209ක් වගේ පොඩි ගාණකටත් තියෙනවා. ක්‍රෙඩිට් කාඩ්, ස්ටෑන්ඩින් ඕඩර් මුකුත් ඕනේ.
මේ හැම දෙයක් වගේම ඩයලොග් ටෙලිවිෂන් කනෙක්ෂන් ලේසි පේ වලින් අරගන්න.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය ඩයලොග් හඳුන්වා දෙන ලේසිපේ දෛනික හා මාසික ප්ලෑන්ස් දැන් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ හැමෝටම මාසකට රුපියල් 209 සිට ගෙවන්න ගන්න. ඩයලොග් ශාඛාවකට හෝ බලයලත් අලෙවි නියෝජිතයෙකු වෙත පැමිණෙන්න. ඩයලොග් ලේසිපේ ටක් ගාලා ගන්න ටික ගෙවන්න.
Dialogue Self-Care app is Sri Lanka's first and only award-winning app and is the best in the region with trilingual support. So we further improved the app to give more power and control to you. Even more powerful now, with over 50 dialogue services at your control anytime, any place, in your own preferred language. New services for Club Vision members. Step onto the world of self-care possibilities. Download now for free.
ළමයෝ දැන් ඩේටා වලට ඔච්චර ලෝභ වෙන්න ඕන නැහැ. ඔන්න ඩයලොග් හෝම් බ්‍රෝඩ්බෑන්ඩ් එකේ ඩේටා ඩබල් වෙලා.
එහෙනම් ඩබල් ගෙවන්නත් වෙයි.
නෑ, තියෙන ඩේටා වගේ ඩබල් ලැබෙනවා පරණ ගානටම නොමිලේ. ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ අංකකේ සහ වේගවත්ම ඉන්ටර්නෙට් සම්බන්ධතාවයෙන් දැන් රෑට ඩේටා ඩබල් වෙලා.
ඩේටා ඩබල්.
ඩයලොග් අනාගතය ආදායි.
මේ මගේ ටැබ් එක ඩයලොග් ලේසි පේ වලින් ගත්තේ.
ලේසිපේ ඩයලොග් හඳුන්වා දෙන ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය.
latest phone, smartphone, tab.
මාස් පතා ටික ගෙවන්න. මාසෙට රුපියල් 209ක් වගේ පොඩි ගාණකටත් තියෙනවා. ක්‍රෙඩිට් කාඩ්, ස්ටෑන්ඩින් ඕඩර් මුකුත් ඕනේ.
මේ හැම දෙයක් වගේම ඩයලොග් ටෙලිවිෂන් කනෙක්ෂන් ලේසි පේ වලින් අරගන්න.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය ඩයලොග් හඳුන්වා දෙන ලේසිපේ දෛනික හා මාසික ප්ලෑන්ස් දැන් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ හැමෝටම මාසකට රුපියල් 209 සිට ගෙවන්න ගන්න. ඩයලොග් ශාඛාවකට හෝ බලයලත් අලෙවි නියෝජිතයෙකු වෙත පැමිණෙන්න. ඩයලොග් ලේසිපේ ටක් ගාලා ගන්න ටික ගෙවන්න.
Dialogue Self-Care app is Sri Lanka's first and only award-winning app and is the best in the region with trilingual support. So we further improved the app to give more power and control to you. Even more powerful now, with over 50 dialogue services at your control anytime, any place, in your own preferred language. New services for Club Vision members. Step onto the world of self-care possibilities. Download now for free.
ළමයෝ දැන් ඩේටා වලට ඔච්චර ලෝභ වෙන්න ඕන නැහැ. ඔන්න ඩයලොග් හෝම් බ්‍රෝඩ්බෑන්ඩ් එකේ ඩේටා ඩබල් වෙලා.
එහෙනම් ඩබල් ගෙවන්නත් වෙයි.
නෑ, තියෙන ඩේටා වගේ ඩබල් ලැබෙනවා පරණ ගානටම නොමිලේ. ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ අංකකේ සහ වේගවත්ම ඉන්ටර්නෙට් සම්බන්ධතාවයෙන් දැන් රෑට ඩේටා ඩබල් වෙලා.
ඩේටා ඩබල්.
ඩයලොග් අනාගත ආදායම්.
මේ මගේ ටැබ් එක ඩයලොග් ලේසිපේ වලින් ගත්තේ.
ලේසිපේ ඩයලොග් හඳුනා දෙන ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය.
Latest phone, smartphone, tab.
මාස් පතා ටික ගෙවන්න. මාසෙට රුපියල් 209ක් වගේ පොඩි ගානකටත් තියෙනවා. ක්‍රෙඩිට් කාඩ්, ස්ටෑන්ඩින් ඕඩර් මොකුත් ඕනේ.
මේ හැම දෙයක් වගේම ඩයලොග් ටෙලිවිෂන් කනෙක්ෂන් ලේසිපේ වලින් අරගන්න.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය ඩයලොග් හඳුන්වා දෙන ලේසිපේ දෛනික හා මාසික ප්ලෑන්ස් දැන් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ හැමෝටම මාසකට රුපියල් 209 සිට ගෙවන්න ගන්න. ඩයලොග් ශාඛාවකට හෝ බලයලත් අලෙවි නියෝජිතයෙකු වෙත පැමිණෙන්න. ඩයලොග් ලේසිපේ ටක් ගාලා ගන්න ටික ගෙවන්න.
Dialogue Self-Care app is Sri Lanka's first and only award-winning app and is the best in the region with trilingual support. So we further improved the app to give more power and control to you. Even more powerful now, with over 50 dialogue services at your control anytime, any place, in your own preferred language. New services for Club Vision members. Step onto the world of self-care possibilities. Download now for free.
ළමයෝ දැන් ඩේටා වලට ඔච්චර ලෝභ වෙන්න ඕන නැහැ. ඔන්න ඩයලොග් හෝම් බ්‍රෝඩ්බෑන්ඩ් එකේ ඩේටා ඩබල් වෙලා.
එහෙනම් ඩබල් ගෙවන්නත් වෙයි.
නෑ, තියෙන ඩේටා වගේ ඩබල් ලැබෙනවා පරණ ගානටම නොමිලේ. ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ අංකකේ සහ වේගවත්ම ඉන්ටර්නෙට් සම්බන්ධතාවයෙන් දැන් රෑට ඩේටා ඩබල් වෙලා.
ඩේටා ඩබල්.
ඩයලොග් අනාගත ආදායම්.
මේ මගේ ටැබ් එක ඩයලොග් ලේසි පේ වලින් ගත්තේ.
ලේසිපේ ඩයලොග් හඳුන්වා දෙන ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය.
Latest phone, smartphone, tab.
මාස් පතා ටික ගෙවන්න. මාසෙට රුපියල් 209ක් වගේ පොඩි ගාණකටත් තියෙනවා. ක්‍රෙඩිට් කාඩ්, ස්ටෑන්ඩින් ඕඩර් මොකුත් ඕනේ.
මේ හැම දෙයක් වගේම ඩයලොග් ටෙලිවිෂන් කනෙක්ෂන් ලේසි පේ වලින් අරගන්න.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය ඩයලොග් හඳුන්වා දෙන
Hello and welcome back to ThePapare.com, where we are just about to witness the long-awaited start. We had about a 20-minute break there of this Oliver Gunithalaka Memorial Trophy between Wesley and St. Thomas's. The scoreline at half-time is 7-0, and the torrential downpour that came down in the last half an hour of that first half has turned the Havelock Park into what Paul Toya described as the Havelock Lake. And the rain has now receded happily, but the ground is still terribly wet. There's patches of water all over, and we know you can't get the visuals, but listen to our commentary. We'll try and bring you the action as best we can. We're sitting on the opposite side to the grandstand in the boxes at the Havelock Park ground, so looking out over the field. St. Thomas is attacking from the left to the right, and Wesley obviously defending the right side of the field. St. Thomas's have scored one goal, and Wesley had chance of points at the end of that game, but didn't really have the opportunity to knock those 3 points over because they opted to go for a tap and go. And St. Thomas has scored late on in that half as well. And Paul and Dylan De Silva have joined me in the commentary box. Paul, these coaches would have had a lot to say at halftime. What do you think the gist of that would have been?
I'd imagine they would say, let's just keep it simple. Let's not make too many passes when we hold on to the ball. Let's hold on to the ball. If I was with St. Thomas's, I'd say let's put the ball down into their half and make them kick the ball out, because they've had 6 lineouts and they've won 1. So that's not an area that Wesley will be wanting to go to. So Wesley will be wanting to keep the ball in the middle of the paddock, go nowhere near the sidelines, and there won't be a hugely expansive game. It'll be forward dominated for sure.
Well, the forwards are dominant, and that's exactly where St. Thomas's have been dominant in, but an early knock-on from the Thomians. And a good pressure put on by Omar Kutubdeen there and taken quickly by the former captain to the current captain. Dayan Sabah carries on where the team left off earlier. Lee Avishka looking for Zubair. Danister Gunithalaka now. This is Avishka Hassan. Tries to hold off. If you're wondering where Lee Avanta is, he's on the bench with an injury. Vimukti, who's come back from his yellow card, makes a great run. Still going. And now Avishka with a good pass, but Zubair leaves it behind. Needs to rescue it. Bhuvinda Disanaika up quickly in defense. So the play still continuing just beyond the 40-meter line in the Thomian territory. And a penalty now coming for not releasing the tackled player. And that comes from just about 35 meters outside the Thomian line in midfield. And Dore or Zubair will kick this one into touch and finds touch just on the 22-meter line on the right-hand flank of the Wesley attack.
Now that surprised me. The Wesleys decided to go to the line out after we said that they had won 1 from 6. So they must have done a little bit of tinkering. You've got to say that you'd want to give your line-out thrower and your line-out a little bit of confidence. And as a coach, you'd say, look, let's go back again. I know you can do it. Let's do it this time in the second half. Start again, reset, and let's have a good line-out.
Yes, it looked like that delay of about 5 or 10 minutes in the early part of the game before it had actually kicked off. The Wesleyites didn't recover from that. That's a beautiful take by Sasanka Fernando, but once again, a crooked throw, and the Wesleyites must be asking, what do we have to do to win a line-out today?
Shanaka, you really feel for the Wesleyites. They cannot get it right in the set pieces, and that was a very important line-out, I should say, starting with the second half. They were with their tails up, attacking, took a quick tap and went in, and there you have it. They gave the ball back, and St. Thomas's putting the ball well. If you notice, the scrum of St. Thomas's is having a good game. De Silva, the dynamite De Silva, he's having a really good game. He's there. That's a good break by the number 8. Quick ball. Kick right up.
Navin Henekankanamge comes away with it, but there was a knock-on first on the chase. I thought the referee had missed it, but he had seen it. And Bhuvinda Dissanayake clearing outside his 22. The ball fell to Ranavira just on the 40-meter line. And it was eventually knocked on by both sets of players. So Wesley will have another line out on the opposite flank, the left flank, just about 41 meters out. Or they'll have a scrum rather.
So that was an excellent kick there from St Thomas's. It's contestable ball, and that's what you want. It really puts the opposition in two minds of what to do.
Sasanka Fernando really well snagged again by Senal De Silva. Doesn't allow the number 8 to get any forward momentum. This is Dayan Sabah coming off the back of the scrum. Shamil Amit gets hammered by Harit Senanayake. And now Danista Gunathilaka trying to step his way back into his support. Avishka throws a bad pass to Bahadin, and Bhuvinda Dissanayake chases it back. Avishka Gunathilaka leaves it behind, and Ashwanta Herath takes the loose ball into the 22. Pandula Dissi with a lovely pass out to Dion Dias, who steps back in, and that's the second try for St. Thomas's. Easily done. Wesley trying to chance their arm, trying to throw it wide, trying to play the game they came to play before the rains hit. And just the aggression proving to be a little too much for them. And that was a mistake that St. Thomas's punished clinically, Paul.
That's right, they did punish it clinically, but it all started here at about halfway, where the pick and drive off the scrum was read really well by St. Thomas's, and they just stood there and they picked off the runners, and so it meant that Wesley had to put more numbers in at the ruck. They ended up running out of numbers when they had the ball, and they went out a little bit wide, and you had one player out there in the back line for the halfback to pass to. He received the ball and had immense pressure on him. And then St. Thomas's charged the ball up and got within 10 metres of the try line, and then put the ball out through the backs to Silva, the captain. It was an excellent pass, right to left, a spiral pass that went to the winger Diaz, and he just cut back against the traffic and went over untouched.
Well, Dion Dias converts with a plum from under the posts, and you can see why he's such a good kicker. He's a football player. Been around playing football for a lot of his life at St. Thomas's after he started off playing rugby, and now they found his way back onto the rugby pitch. Dylan, that'll make life a lot more comfortable for the Thomians.
That little kicker reminds me of Arjun Manoharan, who was also a football player, and I think he was a prepite. Yes, definitely. The Thomians shouldn't take it easy. The Thomians shouldn't take it easy, because even though the Wesleyites are trying to get their bearings, you cannot really ride them out at this moment.
Looks like Wesley are having a player stretchered off, and that's very unfortunate for them. They've already lost one of their key players to injury in Lee Avantha, and now it looks like Bahadin is being stretchered off. Baldi, their fullback, as he is known to his mates, is being stretchered off. And that retaking the conversion now in an unusual situation. I think Dion Dias took the kick, but the referee wasn't watching. And Dion Dias had to come all the way back, retake it. Same again, he just strokes it beautifully through the posts, and through the gap between the posts, I should say. And we're back where we started at 14 points to nil in favour of St. Thomas's. Bahadin has been taken off, and Kutubdin goes to the back. And they will bring on another player on the wing for Wesley. We'll tell you who that is in a moment. So Wesley now,
the winger here, and it was really the fullback. I thought when he caught the ball, when he caught the kick, I was thinking kick it. But he beat 4 or 5 players. He just opened up a little bit of space, and the winger snuck through a little hole, and inroads towards the St Thomas's line.
That penalty, I think Shanaka was a bit too harsh because the pickup and the contest was textbook stuff. It was brilliant. Came in through the gates and just picked it up. I don't know why the referee called that, but that's how it is.
That's right, but there was all made possible by De Silva, the number 9, tracking back and caught the winger. He's having an excellent game.
So we have Satyajit Jayatilaka bound loose once again on the scrum, which is on the left flank for Wesley. And St Thomas's with the put-in. It's about 17 metres in.
It was almost charged down by Lee, the 9 for Wesley. But the rain continues to fall and the lights have just come on, so we'll try to illuminate the match.
So yes, it's good that the lights have come on, which meant that they can take a little bit more time. Heinäkan Kanamge now finds himself in the 10-12 channel. Makes a bustling run up the middle of the field. St Thomas is coming back to the side that they came from. Tehan Pereira fighting his way to the ground. And Senal De Silva now with another little box kick. Omar Kutuddin waits again, takes it beautifully. Might be a blessing in disguise actually that Bahadin is off. And that's the space now for the willing runner for Wesley. He falls over his own feet, unfortunately. And holding on, says the referee. That was a massive clean out though, just before the end of that ruck, and the penalty was given away. You can see the winger actually just holding his hamstring a little bit.
It looked like he was diving for the try line. He's a long way out. It is a wet field though.
Yes, the play is now on the 50-metre line, and St Thomas's thumped the ball into touch about 15 metres hence, and they're 35 metres out of the Wesley touch line. And this is the dangerous part in cold days like this, where you've been nicely warmed up. The wingers are on ice for a long time. Suddenly they get a chance to stretch their legs and they pop a hamstring.
Yeah, he's in real trouble here. He's having trouble with his hamstring. The winger after that great run on this side as well, and he was really stretching his legs, and he looked like he was accelerating away, but maybe he just copped an injury and as he went down.
That'd be a real shame for Wesley, who have suffered at the hands of fate today, because they had Lee Avantha taken off early on in the game, and that's a big miss for them. And then they had Bahadin, who's been taken off, but Kutuddin has made some excellent plays since being substituted at fullback. And that's a line-out steal from Wesley, the first one. They've won a line-out and it's not their own. And it looks like St Thomas's have crept up offside on their own 40-metre line. And Lee Avishka with the thump down the field. Dion Dias has to go back into his 22 to collect this one. He's on his right flank. And he will gratefully thump this one into touch. And looks like the referee has allowed play to go on. And Lee Avishka now, the quick throw, puts the kick down the center of the field. Waiting for it. And with a beautiful run was Mayan Jayawardena, who's not had a chance to stretch his legs today. Senal De Silva now. Pandula De Silva, the captain, beats two players. Smashes straight through the middle of the Wesley defense. Bhuminda Disanaika looks for the space. Christian Delisle. Ashwanta Herath. Now he's got space on the outside with Navin Heinäkan Kanamge, dragged into touch by Dinara Ranavira, but he manages to get the ball into touch. And it looks like there's some confusion, because it looks like the ball has gone into touch on the far side of the field well before any of this play took place. So that's a comedy of errors.
So they're going back for the quick line out. That would have been maybe 6 phases ago. The quick line out was taken, and the linesman on the other side, or the referee's assistant, has deemed that it was obviously taken from the wrong place. I think they might have taken it in front of where the ball went out. So it's a correct call.
It's a short line out, but St. Thomas has smashed the Wesley line out receiver. And the penalty comes for Wesley. The referee makes a amorphous call. Sasanka Fernando. And now Wesley have a few numbers over. Choosing to go back infield is the first receiver, and Avishka puts this into the gap between Dion Das and Mayon Jayawardena, and the Thomian back three only know one way, but a lovely tackle made on the chase by the Wesley follow-up player. St. Thomas's have managed to retain this ball though, or have they? Looks like they have, and Sachit Jayatilaka, Tehan Pereira rather. Pandula De Silva tries to give the long ball out, but it was too much pressure, and it ended up being a 50-50 pass. And now it's available once again for the Wesley replacement. Kutubdeen puts the ball back into the hands of Sasanka Fernando, who will go under the posts. The loose ball. And the referees held his hand up for a knock forward. The irony is the knock forward is to Wesley. And Sasanka Fernando will come back and ask, "Sir, have you heard of this thing called advantage?" So Wesley have scored, but they haven't. It's a moral victory for them. And how will this make St. Thomas's feel?
Shanaka, that was so unfortunate. It was a clean run for the Wesleyites, and I think it was a well-deserved try. Tough call. Really tough call on the Wesleyites.
Well, you heard that from Athomian himself. A tough call on the Wesleyites, and referee Fernando has stamped his mark on this game. Could that be a match-changing decision?
Well, from Wesley's point of view, you've got to take heart from that, because it means that they can score, even though the referee called them back. So they have to keep going. But you saw there before you got to that position, the territory's everything. The opposition might have the ball, but there's a chance of a knock-on all the time, and that's what we saw there.
The referee resets the scrum, even then, though it was at the number 8's feet. That's an interesting one again. Just to bring in the scores from across the road at the Royal College Sports Complex. Royal winning the first leg of the Bradby by 22 points to 17. Just one score in it for 2 weeks from now. But the league game, that's why this one was a much more spicy encounter. The league game means that Royal have won the league battle between the two. Navin Henakan Kanamge forced to carry the ball back from a kick from Lee Avishka, put it behind the back three. It looks like a very deliberate tactic that Wesley are employing after the turnaround.
Yeah, that's an excellent play. They just found the space. So with the kicks, what you want to do is you want to put the ball onto the ground so that you can kick to spaces, but the referee's assistants deemed that the ball was already over the try line, so it's back for a 22 and not a 5-metre scrum.
Yes, that was a good call because the lines are almost invisible here at the Havelock Park, and a drop goal, the dropped ball barely going above the ground. Dayan Sabah to Danis Tagunithalaka, a lovely tackle by Navin Henakan Kanamge. He's been great in attack and defense. That was a key tackle because Gunatilaka had men outside him, just tried to get inside, and if he hadn't got hit so hard, that ball would definitely have found his way into a hand.
That's right, and it's poor play there, really. He had an open player, they had the extra number, and he would have put him away, but there's an excellent tackle by Nevin, and he's stamping his mark on the game all over the place.
It looks like a replacement has been made. Tariq Jurangpati has come onto the park, and looks like Avantha Hashan has been replaced. He came on in favor of Lee Avantha, who went off injured, and now he limps off because his hamstring has not done him any favors. So looks like Jurangpati will go into the second center position. And it's a line out to St. Thomas's now. Wayne Mack takes that one, but it's not straight. the first error really made by Pandula De Silva today. They've been excellent in the line-out, St. Thomas's.
I was surprised there they went down to the back. They threw to 6. Really, when the throwing to 2s that will get the job done. The rain continues to come down. The lights have made it, so it looked like there for a while it was just silhouettes running around.
Now it's a scrum on the left flank for Wesley, 15 metres in from the touchline. Quite a few replacements for the Wesleyites as well. And here's Kutubdeen, who takes the ball in the outside centre position. And Tariq Jurampati gets his first touch. Goes outside Dion Dias. Needs to find his support runners who are there willingly. And here's Zayan Sabah, who takes the ball from the first receiver, setting up in midfield. And Kutubdeen now shows and goes. Omar Kutubdeen makes a good run inside the 22. They're just broken into the 22-meter line. And Wesley have got the ball back. Some quick ball. Big bust up from the forwards, but some tremendous defense. Sasanka Fernando was screaming for the... Oh, another tough call. Referee calling a penalty. But, Paul, that was unfortunate.
Well, that's right. He looked like he went behind his own player, but it didn't look like anyone was obstructed by him doing that. But there were 4 on 1 there, and they decided to skip 2 players out. But St. Thomas's have the ball, and they're charging up 10 metres from the halfway line.
Yes, referee Fernando has made some very interesting calls, but the ball popped out the back of the ruck. And the referee is now deemed a knock-on from Wesley as well, so St. Thomas's will have this back. St. Thomas's have profited in the last 5 minutes from some calls, which they will thank their lucky stars for when they watch the video of this game. Well, there isn't a video of this game, but if they did watch it, they would thank their stars. Pandula De Silva calling his men to the middle, having a stern word.
So you've got to remember that the game plan doesn't want to be lost here. So you still want your leaders out on the field to be saying, let's put the ball on the boot, let's put it back into the opposition's half. If they come back, maybe they'll make a mistake, but let's pressurise them all the time. Let's stay in the game. There's only 14 points in it. Whoever scores next will probably win.
Satyajit Jayatilaka peels off onto the open side of the scrum and manages to get clear of his defender. Mayan Jayawardena battles his way past the defensive line, and now Tehan Pereira smashes into Jayavira. Senal De Silva, nice quick ball for Bhuminda Disanaika. Lovely long ball over the top to Kankanamge, who is missed by Danista Gunitalaka again. And now Sarit Nanayakkara puts a little chip in, takes it again. Kutubdeen manages to get in the way. And St. Thomas is taking the advantage here. Christian Delisle looks to come back in field. And now Senal De Silva will give it to Satyajit Jayatilaka. Good defense on Christian Delisle from Tariq Jurampati.
It was a shame. St. Thomas's had big numbers out on the outside there, and it looks like they were 7 metres out from the try line, and the ball got coughed up in contact. But the winger on this side, he's electric, isn't he? Every time he gets the ball, it seems like anything's possible. And there's a weird little kick that just went over. It looked like it was almost thrown over, but it was a little kick, and that's the indecision that you put the opposition in. They don't know whether to take the ball. It hits the ground, it can go anywhere, and it's a funny shaped ball, the rugby ball, so could easily go for a try.
Well, this is a 22-meter scrum. Sasanka Fernando gets away from everyone. Gets away even from more players. Needs to find support players with him. Beautiful run from the number 8 to 30-meter gain. And now they really need to get this ball quickly away. And Tariq Jurampati is isolated in the face of some stumping Thomian defense. And here's Dinaru Ranavira, who finds himself in the line and Lee Avishka will use it through the hands. Jayavira now gives it to Ranavira once again, who stays strong, slips under the severe underfoot conditions. Christian Delisle manages to charge it down, and now the bouncing ball beating everybody. Adisha Hadunpatirana makes a desperate tackle, and now the young replacement fly half for Wesley puts in a judicious kick. Dion Dias leaves it behind, but the penalty for offside has come, and I thought St. Thomas's were lucky that time not to have conceded a penalty a little bit beforehand for just encroaching on the defensive line.
Yeah, they're very eager to get in there, and Wesley take a quick tap and charge at the line again, and they want to keep the ball in hand.
Tomian defense has been outstanding. Danista Gunitelika puts the fend on. He's missed Navin Henakan Kanamge a few times. Wants to give the ball to Lee Avishka, makes a beautiful offload. And Wesley have broken into past the 40-meter mark. They've got numbers outside. Oh, it's a terrible ball. Tehan Pereira tries to intercept it, but it just comes off the hand. But the referee is already blown for a penalty.
So that's another offside penalty by St. Thomas's, and that time they were so short of numbers out wide that they had a front row forward playing as a centre going for the intercept.
So there's a lot more time left in this game. Dumidu Vimukti with a charging run up the left flank for Wesley. They're coming back to Zion Sabah, run straight into the space, the captain. Wesley are playing much better now than they did in the early half of the game. And going forward, says the referee. Surprised that St. Thomas's didn't concede a penalty there for coming in straight at the side. But the referee says that...
well, the referee's doing a few John Travolta disco moves there. His arms going one way, then back, and then he does a little hands above his head, and he's going to go over and speak to the referee's assistant to see what he has to say about the whole thing. But this is what I was talking about, the game management of the game. Now, St. Thomas's are 14 points up. What would you need to do to control the game? You play the game down into the opposition's field, in the opposition's territory, and just control the game down there and go from set piece to set piece. But they've decided to make it into it's like almost like sevens rugby, where they keep the ball alive. It's frenetic and frantic pace.
Yeah, I'm surprised the coaches don't coach more for wet ball rugby, because when the ball gets wet in Sri Lanka, it gets very wet. Walpitage gives a terrible pass out to Omar Khutubuddin, who has to knock it forward. Had no option. And that's what Paul was talking about. Even Wesley still trying to throw it wide, still trying to stay true to their game plan, even though the conditions are unforgiving.
I'd have to say, if you're attacking and you're with the weather conditions how they are, 30 metres out, just put the ball onto the boot, a Gary Owen they call it in the old days, and just put it up and see what happens. You know, can easily bounce your way and score under the posts.
Young Walpitage making an error there. And looking at this field position now, this scrum is just on St. Thomas's side of the 40-meter line, of their own 40-meter line. Just left of centre. Satija Jatilaka picks up and goes. And he bustles over the tackle, and that Christian Delisle takes a lovely offload from his number 8, the open side flanker, running a lovely inside line. Pandula De Silva with a great ball to Tehan Pereira with a lovely basketball pass to Dhanuja Vijayaratna, who's just come into the team. St. Thomas is almost near the try line, 5 meters out. Shenal De Silva. Pandula De Silva. This one, the pass was a little hard, and it comes off his head. And the ball is knocked forward, so Wesley with some desperate defense. But here again, you've got to just keep the ball soft and short.
That's right, sympathetic passes get the job done, but it was a beautiful move. The number 8 picking up from the 40-metre line in his own half for St. Thomas's, made a marauding run and then the front row is linked beautifully. They look like
It's always beautiful.
centres.
It's always lovely to see a front row running, especially passing out passes like in the basketball. It's really good to see the hookers and the props combining and just running like the wing three quarters.
We spoke before the game, Dylan, and you said that this tight five will have an immense impact on this game, and that's exactly what they've done. And you can do as much as you like. You can have the fastest wingers in the world, but if your front five aren't there to do a job, they're going to be just sipping their tea on the touchlines. And that has been the hallmark of the Stormian team. It's still midway through the season, though. And anything could happen. Isipatana and Science College impressing on the other side of the draw, so those matchups will be intense ones. Wesley have really come back into the game in this last 10 minutes or so, but just a few crucial errors at the last moments letting them down, just some concentration.
So here they're 10 metres out from their own try line, and it's a scrum on the right-hand side of the field, and you'd expect the 9 to pick up in a box kick. He's got a beautiful box kick, but that's not what they do. The 8 picks up and drives ahead.
Sasanka Fernando has picked the ball up almost every time that they've had a scrum, and it's a lovely clearance from the base. Almost 40 metre gain for Wesley. They thumped themselves outside, and Lee Avishka has really had an outstanding game at the base with very little help in front of him.
Shanak, I think St. Thomas's need to take charge of the game. They are in the driving seat, 14 up. They don't need to run the ball each time they get it. They just need to kick it, let the Wesley catch and let them make mistakes without running the ball. I think that's going to be crucial if they do so, and if they just keep to simple rugby, they can end up winners.
Senal De Silva does really well at the base of an untidy line out. Lovely delayed pass from Christian Delisle. Sees Satija Jaitilaka and now Danuj Vijayaratne breaking through, but Vijayaratne's little offload from low into Jaitilaka's waiting arms was a little bit forward. The referee spotting that one well, but a beautiful delayed pass. Christian Delisle, all three back row players involved in that movement, Jaitilaka and Vijayaratne as well, and they drag play back right into the 22 of Wesley.
So obviously the back rowers from St Thomas's aren't reading the same hymn book that we are, because we're saying kick the ball and they're just making great yards going straight up the middle. But it's excellent support play. You see them coming off the shoulder. They'll be giving each other the call. I'm inside you, I'm inside you. It was just a 50-50 ball right at the end that let them down.
And once again, the ball is free from the scrum and the referee resets it. I just don't understand what he's trying to achieve by this, because if the side putting the ball in has already won the ball, why do you want to bring it back?
So Wesley here under their post, they're probably 15 metres out from their post, right in the middle of the field. You'd expect an 8-9 move, and that's what they do.
Valpudege puts the kick in. It's a bouncing ball for Mayon Jayawardena to collect. They have to make their tackles now, but Jayawardena is chopped after he's beaten two players. And this ball is on the extreme left-hand side of the field for St. Thomas's. They've got the entire right-hand flank open. And the pass is forward once again. They tried to get Harit Senanayaka and Henakan Kanamge away. St. Thomas is just playing fast and loose with this ball, and it's commendable that even in this weather they have the confidence in their skills to do this, Paul.
That's right. They would have learned from last week's game against Trinity that if they just have little short passes and the first three guys coming into contact, then they can find space just on the outside the edge, and they're doing that regularly now, and that's an area where their coach said they want to express themselves during this game. But just that one pass too many just seems to be letting them down. So at that point, you'd want them to go into contact, go down. They're in front of the gain line. Their forwards will be able to drive over the ball. The defence won't be able to set, and they can have another attack.
So it's just the 2 tries in it. St. Thomas's have scored twice through good forward forays, which resulted in space outside. It looks like the referee's assistant has come back for a penalty. Some foul play that has happened, and they go back a few phases. And St. Thomas's will get the penalty on the 5-meter line on their left flank. So no prizes for guessing what they're going to do. They thump it into the 22 or just on the 22-meter line on the left flank. And looks like they will want to keep this one close and rumble it up towards the line. Dylan, you used to be a number 2 line-out jumper. This is where you'll expect every single ball to come to you, isn't it, in this sort of weather?
Shanaka, number 2 is safe. Number 2 is what the Thomians are doing right now, but they lost the ball.
So there we can see the forwards. So the ball gets lost, but what I'm disappointed in seeing is that there's so many heads up in the air. When it's a ruck or a maul or anything like that, it's the one that's going to be the lowest to the ground, have their back flat. They'll be able to drive through. And as you see it there, it looked like they were all milling around the buffet table. They were all just wondering what was going to happen next and like almost having a chat to each other.
That's what Royal do so well. A lot of people will argue that Royal have one weapon, but when you execute it as well as they do, why not, you'd ask yourself as well. Because no team has come anywhere close to executing the rolling maul with as much technical perfection as Royal has. Ball at the back of the scrum, and somehow St. Thomas's have out-hooked Wesley for the second time this match. And now Christian Delisle throws the dummy, but is manhandled. And Bhuminder Dissanayake now from close quarters. Looks like St. Thomas is 5 meters out from the line. Sarit Nanayakara still going. And now it's available on the right flank for Dissanayake. Mayan Jayawardena tries to get it out to Henakan Kanamge. They shepherd him into touch, not yet. He manages to stay in the field of play. He's a strong boy, Henakan Kanamge. And the referee says offside, still the call. So Wesley will have to maintain their shape in defense. Adisha Handun Patrana thinks of taking it quickly. Gets yelled at by his captain to not be silly and give it to his scrum half. And 5 meters out, Chenal De Silva taps, gives it to Pandula De Silva with the long ball out. And it's intercepted that time. He saw the space and went for it, Pandula De Silva, but it wasn't to be. And the kick comes into Dion Dias when they could probably have run it. And the referee says they'll come back for the penalty when the receiver has dropped the ball 40 meters down the pitch.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe the advantage might have been up a little bit further, but the St. Thomas's were offside, and I think Wesley would have taken the scrum 40 up, but now they get a chance to kick to the line. They don't make touch. St. Thomas is going to come back, but St. Thomas has knocked the ball on anyway.
Yeah, the referee's interpretation of advantage and ours here are a little different. Still time on the clock. About 5 or so minutes. There's quite a few minutes of injury time left. So if Wesley can get within a score, then the game will once again change its swing in momentum. And I don't know what happened there, but the referee's given a free kick to St. Thomas's for Wesley delaying the put-in probably. And they just give the ball away. Pandula De Silva carrying the ball forward. And now Bhuminder Dissanayake gives it to Ashwanta Herath, who's troubled the defense every time he's touched the ball. Tehan Pereira takes it standing up. Good tackle on him. Still going, St. Thomas's picking and going inside the 22. And the penalty, though, has come to the Thomians when Wesley College tried to steal that ball. Not rolling away is the call from referee Fernando.
While St Thomas's are exerting a lot of pressure here, and Wesley have held out so far really well, and they just get little snippets of the ball and then get to clear the line out. But they've been camped in their own half, in their own 22 for a long time, and they're just starting to drive over, and they look like they might have conceded another penalty, and that's maybe the third one in the last couple of minutes.
Well, that's a tough penalty, Paul, because you do sometimes clear out and go to ground well beyond the ball, and referees really need to decide whether that interrupts the competition or the contest for the ball. Thought that was a harsh one because it was a clean out that the Wesley player left his feet out on.
Yeah, that's right. So when they're cleaning out and they go past the contact position, normally what players do is they just keep fighting, and they'll just make sure that the person who they've cleaned out isn't able to get back and then make another contribution. If you can, you try and clean them out and put them on their back, but otherwise you just clean them out so you're standing in the way so they can't get back into play.
So Dion Dias now with the simple penalty conversion just to the right of the posts. And that comes off the post as well, and Dion Dias catches his own rebound, and Adish Hadun Patirana barrels his way towards the line. Wesley don't seem to want to tackle him, and he goes over. And the referee says he's held up. And it's a 5-meter scrum, so it's a second kick that's hit the post, second penalty attempt from St Thomas's that have hit the post. So they seem to be making a habit of this.
No, and the crowd's a bit frustrated. I just heard "Oh, come on."
Sean, is it me or on the Wesley boys looking like they lost some steam? They're not then. You don't see the same enthusiasm there. You don't see the same zeal as in the previous half. Maybe the writing's on the wall. 14 up, dwindling. The few minutes in the second half. Maybe they see that they don't have enough time to get about it. Or
yeah, I think you're right, Dylan. They've given up this game almost. And again, the referee resetting the scrum.
Well, I've got to counter that argument because they've been defending their line pretty well in the last 10 minutes, and it's backs to the wall stuff, and they still haven't conceded. What they do need, though, is they need to get out of this area here, and they just need to catch a break and a kick, and then they'll be back down this end of the field. But they're camped on their own try line here, and they're holding them out. They need a spark, Wesley.
Yes, they do need someone to spark them. Senal De Silva goes in at the base. Ashwanta Herat catches this nice and flat. And they go over for the line, and that's the third try for St Thomas's. They may not get the bonus point, but the third try is coming. And Dion Dias' kicking ability should make this 21-0, but at the moment it's 19 points to 0. And the Wesley resistance has finally broken in this second half.
That's right, it was an excellent scrum, so hats off to the tight five. They supplied a good base, and the ball went straight from the halfback, De Silva, straight to the inside centre, or the number 12, and he's been running a great hard line all day, and he made some great yards, and I think he set up the try there, and then the ball was quickly recycled, came back the same way, and we had our man charging over.
Yeah, and that's the end of the game. Referee Fernando has blown his final whistle as Dion Dias misses that conversion, going off a drop kick, and none of the players are actually celebrating. They're all just lying on their backs and realizing that they've come to the end of what was an absolute devastating physical battle. Our man of the match, Paul, we have to talk about that. Probably the scrum half for St Thomas's, Senal De Silva, controlling the game in a difficult circumstance.
That's right. He had an excellent game and contributed in defence and attack, but I think special mention does need to go to the number 8. Is it Fernando? He had an excellent game as well. He came off and made some devastating yards, and also the open side flanker, he made a big contribution, but the number 9 for me had an excellent game and took the man of the match.
Wesley have played well. They deserve to walk out of this match with their heads held high. They haven't been able to score a try today, but that was not only their fault. Referee Fernando might have contributed to that a little bit also. But still, the Oliver Gunathilaka Memorial Trophy stays at Mount Lavinia. Zion Sabah's team unable to wrest this back to Campbell Place this time around. But it has been an entertaining game of rugby. It was closer than the scoreboard suggests. 19 points to nil. Wesley are a better side than that, but St. Thomas's maintain their unbeaten tag, and they will take this into the second half of the draw when they go in in the next couple of weeks after the break. When we come back, it will be Isipathana Science College, St. Peter's and St. Anthony's that wait for them in an attempt to unload them from their unbeaten tag in the next couple of encounters. Dylan De Silva, Paul Toya, thanks very much. And for ThePapare.com, we apologize for the loss of pictures, but the conditions just didn't enable us to keep our cameras out there in the pouring rain. And we hope you've enjoyed this coverage nevertheless. St. Thomas is winning the Oliver Gunathilaka Memorial Trophy 19 points to nil.
මේ මගේ ටැබ් එක ඩයලොග් ලේසිපේ වලින් ගත්තේ.
ලේසිපේ ඩයලොග් හඳුනා දෙන ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය.
Latest phone, smartphone, tab.
මාස් පතා ටික ටික ගෙවන්න. මාසෙට රුපියල් 209ක් වගේ පොඩි ගාණකටත් තියෙනවා. ක්‍රෙඩිට් කාඩ්, ස්ටෑන්ඩින් ඕඩර් මුකුත් ඕනේ.
මේ හැම දෙයක් වගේම ඩයලොග් ටෙලිවිෂන් කනෙක්ෂන් ලේසිපේ වලින් අරගන්න.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ පහසු ගෙවීමේ පෙරලිකාර විප්ලවය ඩයලොග් හඳුන්වා දෙන ලේසිපේ දෛනික හා මාසික ප්ලෑන්ස් දැන් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ හැමෝටම මාසකට රුපියල් 209 සිට ගෙවන්න ගන්න. ඩයලොග් ශාඛාවකට හෝ බලයලත් අලෙවි නියෝජිතයෙකු වෙත පැමිණෙන්න. ඩයලොග් ලේසිපේ ටක් ගාලා ගන්න ටික ටික ගෙවන්න.
Dialogue Self-Care app is Sri Lanka's first and only award-winning app and is the best in the region with trilingual support. So we further improved the app to give more power and control to you. Even more powerful now, with over 50 dialogue services at your control anytime, any place, in your own preferred language. New services for Club Vision members. Step onto the world of self-care possibilities. Download now for free.
ළමයෝ දැන් ඩේටා වලට ඔච්චර ලෝභ වෙන්න ඕන නැහැ. ඔන්න ඩයලොග් හෝම් බ්‍රෝඩ්බෑන්ඩ් එකේ ඩේටා ඩබල් වෙලා.
එහෙනම් ඩබල් ගෙවන්නත් වෙයි.
නෑ, තියෙන ඩේටා වගේ ඩබල් ලැබෙනවා පරණ ගානටම නොමිලේ. ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ අංකකේ සහ වේගවත්ම ඉන්ටර්නෙට් සම්බන්ධතාවයෙන් දැන් රැඳ ඩේටා ඩබල් වෙලා.
ඩේටා ඩබල්.
ඩයලොග් අලගත ආදායම්.
මේ මගේ